right, flock. Welcome in. Welcome in. This is the next, the newest, the premier newest, the new edition of 3 In, 3 Out. I am your host, Clinton Bonner, and you probably know by now this is written and performed and distributed exclusively for the Seahawks podcast. If you've never listened to 3 In, 3 Out, well, pretty simple. We like to dissect the Seahawks games. We like to do a unique Seahawks recap, get into them nooks, get into them crannies. We like to hear from the flock. We like to do it for you, the flockers out there. So let's dive right in. This was obviously kind of an easier on the schedule win. Should have been that way, was that way, but there's some things to dissect. So we have one rule, one important rule on 3 In, 3 Out. When we win, we start with an in. So let's get right to it. Let's get to our first in on this week's edition of 3 In, 3 Out. Always a favorite thing when we do get to start with an in, because that means we won. So let's dive right in. Let's get into one of the nooks, one of the crannies. Okay, we understand Bobby Wagner. Of course, the Seahawks fans out there and those living in the PNW are gonna, of course, know Bobby Wagner, but he's still, for some reason, not that household name. However, for 3 In, 3 Out, we're going to let everybody else talk about Bobby Wagner and give him the shine because the man's amazing. We know what Bobby did. I want to talk about a different Seahawk on the defensive side of the ball. I want to talk about a second-round pick from 2016 from Alabama, a dude that's supposed to be just a run blocker. This dude is, of course, Jarran Reed. Jarran Reed's progression from 2016 to 2017 to how he's playing this year. What is he up? 6.5 sacks? I gotta go look that up. I think he's around 6.5 sacks. But sacks is not his only game there. The guy is like a Sam Adams style, dare I say, like a Vince Wilfork style run stopper. Now, he's not quite as big, and anybody who lives in the Northeast who happens to have like a big Y near them, it's like a Stop and Shop, or I don't know what other outlets you have out there for supermarkets, but it's a supermarket chain, but they actually have a pizza. I think it's called the Big Vince or the Wilfork, but they actually have a pizza named after him because the man is so big, and it's got everything. It's got the works, as you might imagine. It's a pretty delicious pizza. Maybe he's not Vince Wilfork in terms of like size, but in terms of his efficiency, in terms of his effectiveness, he is that good of a run stopper. But then you start to fold in what he's doing this year and being this disruptive guy on, well, every single down, doesn't really matter, passing downs included, with the sacks he's getting, with the pressures he's getting, with the QB hits he's getting. Man, Jarran Reed is having a year. He has become a very, very good player for us. And the thing is, too, like, we've kind of seen this before. I mentioned Sam Adams earlier back in the late 90s. Like, okay, cool. We got that big body who could just, stuff the run. Cool. The dude never really had the presence to go make disruptive plays in the pass game. Then a couple of years ago, if you remember like the 2013, 2014, 2015 team, we had Jordan Hill for a bit there. And you might be like, all right, well, Jordan Hill didn't quite get there, but he looked like he might. I remember the Seahawks podcast, and I think Adam was really high on Jordan Hill in those days, as was I. I loved what I was seeing from Jordan Hill. But then the dude got hurt, and he kind of just never came back. He kind of just disappeared after that. I'm looking at Reed going, man, I think he's got this rare combination of being an incredible run stuffer who just knows how to stay in his gap and stay in position, but also that combo of being able to just get to the quarterback, or at least disrupt the quarterback pretty much when he needs to. So that dude's balling out. He had a big game. First in goes to Reed. All right, let's get over to some of these very nitpicky outs, but let's head over to one now. Okay, flock, it's a nitty kind of 3 In, 3 Out when we're going to special teams right away for the first out. And you know what? It's just one of those games where I don't have that much down the out column. I'm not going to talk about all the yards we gave up. It's just, yeah, so what? So what? So we gave up yards in a blowout game where, a team against us could do really nothing else. So, I mean, whatever. Yards are yards. I just don't care about them. But what I do care about, and things that kind of bleed into the next game, and here's the thing. You might be thinking I'm going to go down the path of extra points with Janikowski. I'm not. It's okay. He missed 2 extra points. They didn't hurt us. Hopefully get those out of the way in a game like this, and who cares, right? But what I care about is I'm unsure Janikowski can get the ball in the end zone on kickoffs. So I'd like to open this up to the flock to ask, hey, do you think Janikowski is like doing this on purpose? Do you think he's trying to just kick some pretty high a lot of hang time kickoffs that land right about the 1 yard line, land at like the -1, land at like the 2, just at the goal line itself, and enticing them to bring it out with the idea that we can get a big play, we can get a turnover, we can keep them within the 25-yard line? Or do we just think Janikowski just doesn't, at this age, doesn't have the leg to get it into the end zone? It's concerning to me because, yes, there are certain times throughout the game where, we do get that stop. We get a big hit at like the 15-yard line. The crowd's fired up. We get a hit at the 11-yard line. But there's also these times where, it's just the law of averages. If they're taking the ball out, let's say 4 times in a game, I'd say two times, if not more, that team is going to break something pretty significant. And we saw the Niners do that. I think on one of them in particular, we saw the Niners take the ball out to, I think, about the 35 or the 40-yard line. And it's just, okay, again, against the Niners, these kind of things get just, washed under. It's like, okay, that's not a big deal. However, as we come down the stretch and then hopefully as we head into, this playoff run and hopefully into the playoffs, it's things like that I'm like, man, what's going on here? Can Janikowski get the ball in the end zone on kickoffs? And I don't know. I'm not sure if he's doing this kind of crafty, trying to land it around the 1, or if he just doesn't have the leg anymore. It's concerning to me. So for me, it's the first out. Listen, I love kickoffs. And in fact, I watched a little video about the XFL that they're experimenting about making sure the kickoffs are back in the game, but also making sure there's new rules so that people are not basically running at each other at 70 miles an hour. So they're going to figure that out, and hopefully that gets bled back into the NFL to bring back the kickoff and bring back the excitement. But right now, the rules are what the rules are. Like Lockett gets to return 1 a game, and look at what Lockett goes and does with the 1 he gets to go do. We can't give these talented teams that are going to be playing with really talented, speedy folk back there chances for multiple kickoff returns per game. That's bugging me, so that's the first out. All right, let's head on over to another end. Okay, Flock, so I'm not going to say that I was upset or perturbed or mad about Penny's some odd like 20-yard touchdown run, toss left there, and he gets it. He gets the clear lane and gets a nice touchdown. I'm never going to be upset about a Seahawks touchdown, but I want to put the shine. What I feel is happening is everybody's talking about Penny's emergence. That's fine. That's fine. I'm happy the dude's certainly playing better. I read some articles also about him saying, well, it's slowed down a bit for him. He's seeing things differently. Great. We want all that. He provides a different type of runner, which is cool. But I really want to put the, if this is like a light that's, what are like those balcony lights, that you might see on in a at a play or something like that, and you got someone up top with it's called a spotlight. Took me a while there, Flock. It's an early AM for me recording this. That thing's called a spotlight. Okay, so I want to take the spotlight and just it needs a little WD-40, as you can tell, but I want to and pivot it back. I guess that's a pivot, right? I just want to angle it back to Chris Carson. I want to give this in to Chris Carson's ability to get and convert on 3rd and shorts. This man, like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, Chris Carson has become money on these. And we're not talking about plays where Carson has gigantic lanes, to mosey on through. We are talking about plays where he's got to get like Millennium Falcon skinny. He's got to kind of go sideways and find a small little crease. He's kind of got to go 2D Mario, like Mario. He's kind of got to go like 2D Mario, get all flat and find a little crevice and take that big body of his and just kind of slither through a really small gap, fall forward and get that yard, get that 2 yards, get that 3 yards. He has become insanely good at knowing where he's got to get to and doing little, small, subtle things that I think are being overlooked. We all love the Chris Carson when he's flipping over dudes. We all love the Chris Carson where he's catching the ball out of the backfield and then he's trucking some dude 15 yards down the field. And we're like, man, it's like Earl Campbell style. Like, that dude's a load. We love that Chris Carson. I love Chris Carson. I'm infatuated with him as our featured back. In fact, I want more Chris Carson. What I really, really like and what I love that we're seeing is this sixth sense, if you will, just this ability to get skinny when he has to at the line, kind of turn a little bit sideways, but still keep his momentum and get that extra 1 or 2 yards on 3rd and short. His convertibility is truly sincere. If you get to go back and watch some of this game, there was at least two 3rd and shorts where the blocking was not very strong. He's going over the left side like he's running in between the tackles, basically running right up the gut, and he finds a little sliver of hope. He gets the first down, and we keep the drive going. I want to take that spotlight and say, okay, listen, the Penny touchdown, that's fine. Move that spotlight back to Carson and say, look at those 3rd and short conversions and look at Carson's ability to just make things happen in those plays where I think other backs just would not succeed there. So that's a strong in. That goes to number 32, CC, Chris Carson. You deserve it. All right, Flock. When you start the out ledger with the notion that your kicker might not be reaching the end zone, you're grasping at straws early and you don't have all that much there. That's fine. That's okay. It's a blowout victory. We kind of hit some doldrums in the middle of the game, but I think one of the reasons we hit those doldrums is just the offensive line holding. Like we saw a couple on Fluker. We saw I think at least one on Ifedi. And I'd say this, I know Fluker's going to be out for a few weeks, and man, that's going to hurt. I mean, that could be an out unto itself. It's just the fact that we're losing Fluker has been so. Just go look at the stats. Go look at our win percentage with Fluker in and Fluker out. We need that dude back. We need him healthy, and we need him back ASAP. So DJ, get well. Do some Mr. Miyagi, rub that thing down, and just get back out there as soon as you possibly can because we need you. But the holding penalties in the kind of that middle of the game cause these doldrums for us. They cause this premature stalling out. And man, it's just one of those things where when we're playing the 49ers and we blow them out, and we get that awesome Bobby Wagner touchdown late in the game, and everybody's sleeping on him, and he's that's fantastic. We love all that, but can we have a game where we don't bog ourselves down? It's like tennis, right? They call it an unforced error in tennis. You're going back and forth, you're volleying, you're in the right position, you get something served up to you, and you just blow it. You mishit it, you put it into the net, it's an unforced error. I feel like we're still having a lot of these unforced errors, and it's kind of funny. They kind of come in bunches. They seem to kind of get congregated together. Maybe that's an okay thing. They kind of get congregated together, or we get them out of the way, and then we get back to playing better ball. But, as we get down the stretch, we got to win a couple more games here for certain. Got to get cleaned up. So I know, again, it's a little bit broad. I like to get more specific here. There's just not that much to talk about on the outside. Hey, Flock, tell me what you saw. I don't have that much this week for the out. But for me, it's just that Zamboniing, especially in the middle of the game, to keep us out of the doldrums. And it kind of all starts with not tackling people on the offensive line, because if you tackle them, that's actually holding. All right, Flock, going to give this last in to Russell Carrington Wilson, and it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little unique, little 3 and 3 out nooks and cranny style. What I like about, Russell's putting together one heck of a year. Go look at Russ's career stats, and a couple of interesting things will stand out for you. Number one, I believe this is his second best year when it comes to completion percentage. But there's another really interesting stat in there, and that is his touchdown ratio. So this is just purely how many touchdowns per attempts, or the percentage of touchdowns given the amount of attempts. And so I did a little research. It's funny. If you go back and you look at who has the highest ever, you get this litany of old school quarterbacks, like when the game was completely different, right? So you get QBs from the 30s, 40s, and 50s who kind of pepper that list. And you look at the best years ever, and there's only a couple of modern people on that list. I think Rodgers, was at I think it was 8.8% in 2011, which is insane because he threw 45 touchdowns that year and had a monster year. But go look at Russ's touchdown ratio this year, and it's off the charts. It's off the charts bananas. So it's just about these chunk plays and being, at this point, incredible, knocking on wood, incredibly accurate, just hyper efficient. But that touchdown ratio, it's like, hey, on the Seahawks podcast, they talk about yards really not mattering all the time. I think an underserved stat is just touchdown ratio. How many times do you put the ball up in the air, and then what's the percentage of times those become touchdowns? Go take a peek at Russ's stats this year and start comparing it to some all-time greats. Some of the numbers are a little skewed, but go look at the best years ever for NFL and go look where Russ lands. I'll give you a little homework. It's pretty damn interesting. And especially in like the modern era, right? Take the last 15 years, take the last 20 years. You're going to see a couple names on there. And when I say a couple, I mean two. You're going to see two names on there kind of in the modern era. And guess what? It's just another argument in the quiver of, is Russ an elite quarterback? I'm just so sick of the narrative. It has gone away from he's a game manager. We understand he's no longer a game manager, but I'm sick of the narrative that he's not a pocket guy. Did you see what he did in the pocket? Did you see his pocket presence? Did you see when he did the moonwalk backwards on that Brown touchdown? Just bought himself 5 more yards by casually just stepping back a little bit and then throwing the out with perfection. Russ is playing at an incredibly high level this year. You could get into one game here or there and a pick six and pick on that, but you got to look at the whole, and he is playing at an incredibly high level. Go look at that TD ratio and just start looking at the names that are on that list. So when you're in those arguments and some dude is telling you that, oh, it's Rodgers and Brady and that's it, or whatever their dumb argument is, insert Russ and have another arrow in the quiver to be like, yeah, but let's talk about something really important. How many touchdowns does this guy get every time he puts a ball up in the air? What's his ratio? Go look at that. Go look at a team that doesn't throw the ball that often and how damn good their quarterback is when they do throw the ball. Now, by the way, this is not an argument to throw the ball 45 times. This is probably an even stronger argument to do exactly what we're doing. Run the ball, set the tone, get chunk plays, and be incredibly efficient when we do throw the ball. Russ, man, this ends for you. Flock, as this third out for this game, I'm going to say this. I got nothing. I'm not going to waste my breath, not going to waste your time. I'm just going to say, I don't have a third out. There is no, the third out is just empty. It is null. There is no third out. We blew out the 49ers. We blew them out at home. We, kicked their butts up and down the field. We outperformed them on special teams. We clearly outperformed them on offense. Our defense did what they had to do to get big turnovers and get sacks when they needed to. That's it. There is no other out. Let's just get over to our favorite section, of course, From the Fly. Okay, Flock, I am looking forward to Monday Night Football. I am very, very much fired up and looking forward to this game. We got the Vikings coming into town. What I want to say to the listeners out there, that if you're new to 3 and 3 Out, and specifically, remember, 3 and 3 Out is just a little side story. It's just a little kicker. It's maybe it's a little side of fries with your double deluxe burger that is the Seahawks podcast, right? So if you are a Seahawks fan, if you are a 12, you got to go to getintheflock.com or just go search the Seahawks podcast. Go find that podcast on whatever it is, iTunes, Android. Go watch their YouTube videos and subscribe there. Follow them on Twitter. That's the main host. That is the mothership, if you will. If you don't know about the Seahawks Pod Ring of Honor, it is a special Facebook group of kind of the most, I would call maybe the most intensive Seahawks podcast fans and listeners and Patreons, right? Understand how to go get involved with that. That is the most fun. Every single game, That group is lit. We are having so much fun during the games, discussing it in the Facebook group. Just gifs are flying back and forth, jokes are flying, barbs are flying, analysis, criticisms, arguments. It's all there, but it's all like good fun. It's actually like the epitome of what social media could and should have always been. And it's just so much fun. All right, everybody, have fun this Monday night. Huge, huge game coming up. Let's go beat the Purple People Eaters down. Let's go take what is ours. Let's go win at home. And of course, go Hawks.